Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Puppet Playhouse podcast, otherwise known as PPP, or simply for short. Now, the TV show Seinfeld was all about nothing. And, well, we hear it, or the podcast, it isn't really about anything. Well, we really are actually about something. We're about making the world a better place, one laugh, one smile at a time. Because life isn't easy, especially in this modern world of crazy with COVID and everything that comes with it. Now, I know that for many of you, it's a struggle just to keep going. And for others, well, maybe you're doing okay right now. But there are still those days, those moments when it's not all kittens and rainbows, and you're doing good just keeping your head above water. Now, wherever you find yourself, please know that we're here for you. And if we can offer you that small escape from real life, if only for a few minutes, if we can get you to laugh or smile even once, well, then the world is a better place. And we consider that a win. So, here at we will also have a variety of guests that pop in to say hello from time to time. Oh, looks like there's someone now coming into the studio, just as if waiting outside for their cue. Oh, listen, none other than our good friend, Roscoe Motrin. Well, hello, Roscoe.
Hey there, everybody, and how are you folks out there on the interwebs? My name is Roscoe Motrin of the Cloverdale Motrins. Well, actually, it's Mac Motrin, but when my ancestors came over here, they dropped the Mac.
Oh, Motrin. You know, that kind of sounds like a pain reliever.
You know, you ain't the first person to tell me that.
Well, I guess I'm not. Well, anyway, so it's been a while, and I hear that your grandson just finished up doing a play with community theater.
Yes, sir, he did. My grandboy, Arudis, was in a production of that there musical Annie. Oh, was it good. Now, you see, I didn't even know that boy was in the theater. I didn't know he could act. My daughter-in-law, Jaundice, well, she came over to the house one day and said that she saw some of their auditions on them there interwebs. And she said she's going to take Arudis down there and to that theater and see how he likes it, how he takes to it. So they went, and let me tell you something. He loved it. When he came back over here after them auditions, he couldn't stop talking about it.
Well, so, what part did he eventually end up getting?
Oh, he's in what they call out there orphan chorus. He got to be on stage and got to sing some songs and learn some out there choreography. You know, my wife Wanda May, she's already seen him as the next Tom Hanks. But I reckon it's still a mite early for that one.
Well, you know what they say, Roscoe. Dream big. Now, I gotta ask, when you found out about this audition, why didn't you go down and try your luck, too? They're always needing men.
Well, you see, this here's Arudis and what he wanted to do, and I weren't about to take anything from him. But I mean, just look at me now. I'm just a good old boy from the deep south in Alabama. I don't reckon I got any acting genes. Matter of fact, only jeans I got are the ones I'm wearing right now.
Yeah. I wouldn't leave your day job for comedy. But don't sell yourself short, okay? Now, since you are in here, this is a great time. Maybe you can give us an update on Cleavon. Now, for those of you not in the know, and I guess that would be the majority of you listeners out there, Cleavon is a cousin of Roscoe.
No, he's a twice removed cousin of Roscoe.
Really? twice-removed cousin.
Yes, sir. What that means is folks tried to remove him from the family twice, but Mama and them stopped it from happening.
Ouch. Knowing Cleavon, that does not surprise me at all. Now, I have heard that Cleavon likes to hang around the Natchez Trace, which is near where he lives.
Does he ever? Cleavon, you see, is a ginormous Bigfoot fan, know what I mean? And he claims that there are big feet, as he calls them, hanging out there around the trace in the woods. Now, he don't want anyone disturbing them in their natural habitat. He dresses up like a big feet and he runs through them woods, letting cars that go back and forth snatch a photo now and then. He'll even hang out at some of them there overlooks, where you can stop and enjoy nature. Well, he'll pop out of some bush behind some tree and he gets folks real good.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like Cleavon. Now, does he wear some kind of a costume when he does it? I mean, really, be honest, Roscoe. Does anyone really think that he's Bigfoot?
Do they ever? Cleavon's over 6 feet tall, and he's as hairy as a long-tailed rabbit, know what I mean? I'm telling you, ain't no inch of skin, hardly don't got no hair on it. He's also letting that head of hair on his head grow out there. And when he's out there on the trace, he really looks like from a distance that he might just be one of them there big feet.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the last time I saw him. I suppose I can see that. So how long has Cleavon been running around the trace?
Well, he started a while back, just going out now and again just to make sure folks weren't, getting too close to the big feet habitat or nothing. But when we first started that quarantine back in March 2020, he wanted to rush out there and make sure everything's okay. Mama and them stopped him, though. They said that, he could have that there virus, and what if he infected the big feet? Well, he weren't happy about it, but he knew that Mama and them's probably right.
Well, sure. So, he didn't go out. So, he didn't go out till later then, right?
Yep. Well, let me tell you something before we go there. It ain't exactly like Disney World when you cooped up with Mama and them and Cleavon. Like, early on in the quarantine, they decided they was going to have 'em a board game night once a week. And one night they picked that game of life. And Cleavon gets all mad and upset 'cause they ain't got no big feet hunter profession. Now, he got doctor, and he's making some good money with it. But he wanted to be a professional big feet hunter in that there game. And when they didn't have it, you'd have thought it was like Jesus getting them money changers out the temple.
Okay, but I thought that Cleavon wanted to help Bigfoot. He actually wants to hunt them in the game.
No, not really. He just said that them folks who created that there life game was prejudiced against big feet since they didn't have no jobs about them.
Only from the mind of Cleavon.
Oh, I know. I know all too well. But that ain't the rest of the story.
Oh, so there's more?
You know it.
Well, okay. So what else has Cleavon been up to?
Well, he ain't really doing too well lately, see? He volunteered at church to take up the offering last Sunday. And he did. And Mama and them said he did quite good at it, too. Thing is, he didn't give the money to the preacher when it's over.
Oh, I can see where this might be going. Well, what did he do with the money? He wasn't trying to steal it, was he? He's not a thief.
Oh, no. Cleavon is many things, but he ain't no thief. He took the few $100s he collected and drove up to Tennessee and bought a bunch of lotto tickets.
Yeah, that's not making, you're not painting a picture of him not being a thief.
I know that, but there's more to it. See, he's been reading his Bible more during this here pandemic. Probably good for all of us we'd do that. And he's just reading about Jesus feeding them 5,000 folk with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know that story. So Jesus' disciples were wanting to send all these people home because they didn't have enough food. And, well, they didn't have enough money. It would take way more money than they had to go out and buy enough food. So they wanted to send them away. But Jesus said, well, we don't need to send them home. We can feed them. And they took 5 loaves and 2 fish and fed every single person, even gathering up 12 baskets of leftovers.
Oh, you're right on it there. Well, you see, Cleavon said that if Jesus could feed that many people and have that much food left over with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, well, surely God could take a few $100s from the collection and turn it into some mega cash, as he calls it.
Yeah, but through the lotto, really?
Well, Cleavon called it gambling for God.
Oh. And I take it that didn't go over so well with the family?
Well, let's see. Aunt Viola, well, she just about disowned him. Now, Viola's what you might call a bit old-fashioned. You know, she didn't even have electricity in her church she went to as a young'un. And today, we got way more going on than electricity. Like Viola says that all them there folks that are worshiping online through the interwebs, she says that's sinful and God ain't happy with it.
Really?
Yeah. She says he wants your butt sitting on that there pew and not on the sofa or laying in bed. So you can just imagine how she reacted when Cleavon brought home lotto tickets instead of that offering money.
Oh, I can indeed. Okay, well, how did Mom and them handle it?
Well, they didn't handle it much better. Every time they'd come to church, they'd sit at the very back, on the back pew there, for over a month, sitting there wearing dark sunglasses with their mask on. They'd rush right out that door as soon as that final amen said. Well, they did tell the preacher that Cleavon's going to pay back out money on monthly installments.
So, I guess that means that Cleavon didn't win any money with those lotto tickets.
Well, he did get one number off on one of them. But even if he'd have won, Aunt Viola wasn't going to let him give that money back to the church. She says that gambling is the devil's payday, and she ain't about to let no evil money in the Lord's house.
Well, I guess I can understand that. Well, let's move on to another topic. And it's football season, right? That's fast coming upon us. So I expect Mom and them is going to be rooting for Alabama.
Is water wet? When the Tide play, the streets are bare around here, know what I mean? You might as well close up your business until the game's over. Ain't nobody gonna be shopping or nothing. And that means Mom and them too. They are glued to that TV, know what I mean?
I do. I live here too. I understand. So what about Cleavon? Does he have a favorite sports team?
Cleavon? Oh, I doubt that. Let me put it to you another way. Last year, Mom and them were watching the game. It's an Alabama game, and they did one of them there big plays where they came from behind and tied the game. Well, they were out there in the den yelling, "Roll Tide, Roll Tide," you know how they do. Well, Cleavon overheard it, and he comes running into the den with a box of Tide laundry detergent and a roll of toilet paper, and he begins to roll the Tide box. Know what I mean? I tell you, that there boy's a few fries shy of a Happy Meal. Know what I mean?
I do indeed, Roscoe. I've known Cleavon for quite some time. And, we could talk for hours about family. But I know you've got other rats to kill, and so I think it best if we let you get going. But we do thank you for stopping by the studio.
It was my pleasure. When I heard that you was having your first podcast over here, I knew I wanted to stop by. Which that makes me think of something there. Why do they call this here a podcast? That's a funny sounding name. Where'd it come from?
Well, as I understand it, the term podcast was coined by a UK paper, United Kingdom paper, The Guardian, from columnist Ben Hammersley. It's a combination of the words iPod and broadcast. Because back in the day, the Apple iPod was a portable audio player that you could also download and listen to podcasts exclusively. But over time, the term has come to mean any serial audio or even video that's distributed over the internet. And you don't need an iPod to listen anymore. You can listen to it right on your phone, or even on your computer, or laptop, or tablet.
Learn something new every day, I reckon. At least, I think you should do. I feel that no matter how old you get, you should never feel that you've grown all you gotta grow. There's always something new to learn or something new for you to figure out. And the day that you say you've arrived at all you want to know, well, that's a sad day indeed. 'Cause I believe that life is learning. Know what I mean?
Oh, I do indeed. And I want to thank you again, Roscoe, for dropping by. Roscoe Motrin, everybody. Now, if you like listening to Roscoe, we can make sure that he's a regular on the show. I'm a professional puppeteer and actor, and Roscoe is just one of the many characters that I do. And if you want to see my puppet work, well, then be sure to check out the amazing show, Steve Trash Science. Now, this is a science and magic show for kids, and it gives you magic, science, music, puppets, and fun. And it's all based around 4th grade science. And there's even some Mr. Rogers-esque segments where you're going to learn and be encouraged to be nice to each other, things like that. Now, the host of the show is, well, you guessed it, Steve Trash, who is an awesome magician who travels the globe doing magic shows based around conservation and the environment. How cool is that? Well, he's been wanting to put together a show like this for a number of years, and it has finally happened. Now, the show is currently airing on PBS, otherwise known as the Public Broadcasting System, or public broadcasting here in the United States. And if you live in the U.S. and your local PBS station doesn't have it, ask them to carry it. Write them a letter, 2 letters, 10 letters, give them a call. Or you can simply go to the main PBS website, pbs.org, O-R-G, and you can watch it there. All you have to do is search Steve Trash Science on pbs.org, and you'll find it. It's also available through the PBS app that you can download to your device, or Chromecast, or Roku. There are 10 episodes currently available for viewing, so check them out. Now, once you do, you may say, okay, only 10? Why aren't there more? Well, the simple reason is because making TV is expensive, and PBS will cover the airtime, but not the production cost. So, if anyone out there listening has got a couple of $1 million laying around and you'd like to sponsor a great magic show and science show for kids, and, well, even adults too, just reach out to Steve Trash. Or, hey, reach out to me, and I'll reach out to Steve Trash. Because we want more than 10 episodes. But we need money to make it happen. Right? So, yes, I am the puppeteer on the show Steve Trash Science. And I do the puppets, and I do the character voices. And I've been working with puppets for over 35 years. I started working with puppets where my family attended church when I was a kid, working in their puppet ministry. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, you can also find my work on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search Mr. Puppet. That's MrPuppet. That's Mr. Puppet without the E. There's no E. Don't ask me why. Yeah. And that's how you'll find my YouTube channel. And it's called, what? Yes, you guessed it, Puppet Playhouse. Now, here at this time in our program, we thought we would offer a segment that's rather unique. And we're going to try it out and see what you think. And we simply titled it, What If? And this is where we want to see what it would be like if a particular person or a particular character were put into something different or unique to what they are actually known for or accustomed to. Like, let's think here. What if the famous chef who has now passed away, Julia Child, for example, what if she was to play a computer game like, say, World of Warcraft Classic? Now, when I was younger, I loved watching Julia on PBS. I watched quite regular. And, well, today, I play World of Warcraft Classic. I play the Burning Crusade Classic. So, what if Julia played World of Warcraft Classic 2? What would that be like? If you're going to be doing any racing, you have to have a battle plan all mapped out, you see. So many go into raging and not knowing what they're doing until the moment. Well, you wouldn't choose to cook a meal without knowing how you're going to cook it, would you? You have to have a recipe, and you have to follow it and create that masterpiece, that culinary masterpiece. And racing is the same type of thing, It is always helpful to know the fights and how to kill each of the bosses. And thank you, Julia, for helping us better understand the proper way to raid in TBC Warcraft Classic. Now, if I'm honest, I typically don't do celebrities, but on occasion I can throw out a vocal here and there. Oh my. Tune in regularly to see who might drop in and give us some insight from areas that they normally wouldn't be associated with, right? Now, I said earlier that I'm also an actor. Well, I discovered acting my senior year in high school. I had been working with puppets for years already. I discovered puppets when I was still in elementary school. But the thought of puppetry being a form of acting, which it is, never entered my brain. Well, my senior year in high school, some of the students, the senior student body, wanted to do a play, a senior play. Look, kind of like a unique way to leave their mark at the school. Now, my school did not have a drama department, no theater department. So that was a unique way to kind of leave our mark at the school. But they were going to do that, right? And I'm typically out of the loop, so I didn't hear about auditions until the day of, even though they've been advertising them for weeks on end. Now, I was encouraged to go to the auditions by my English teacher because of my reading skills. So I went, and the rest, as they say, as I've already said, is history. Now, after that play, I was then encouraged to try out for community theater, and I did. Now, if I'm honest, which I'm going to be honest with you here, I had zero clue how acting really worked, right? Like how a director chooses who to play what role, all of that. Now, my first audition, I go in, I knew nothing about the play, I just picked up a script, and I looked for the biggest role that I thought I could do. And that was that. I didn't realize, didn't even think about, that it was actually written for someone older, like 10 plus years older, and it really needed to be someone who looked older, because I was 18, but I looked 14. And now the director of the show did something that I have never seen anyone do again. They told us at the beginning that since we came and gave up our free time to audition, that she was going to reward us by casting the show that very night. We just needed to give her, say, 15, 20 minutes after the show, after the auditions were over, rather, and boom, it was going to be cast. And they did. They cast the show that very night. Now, the director, she got up after she had, had everything chosen, and she thanked everyone with the standard, if you didn't get cast, keep auditioning, that sort of thing. But then she said that if she called your name, please go onto the stage. And guess what? My name was called. Now, in my brain, it was not a revelation. It was a confirmation. I had done so well with the school play. Everyone was telling me how amazing I was. I even got standing ovations. So getting cast in my first community theater audition was a no-brainer. Duh. Of course I got cast. But here's the funny part. I was going up to the stage because she said, join us on stage. I'll call your name. I was walking up there to the stage. And the director, she stopped me because she was walking up there too. And she said, do you know why I cast you in my show? Now, in my head, I'm sitting there, thinking, duh, because I'm good. But luckily, I knew better than to say that, so I just politely said, no, ma'am, I don't. And then she replied, you just look like you really wanted to be on stage. Yeah, talk about bursting one's bubble. Here I was. I had shown up with all of this mega talent. And I get a part simply because I looked like I wanted to be on stage. That's what gets me a part. And then icing on the proverbial cake, it was a walk-on role. Maybe I had 2 minutes if I'm lucky. Ouch. Now let's fast forward to the next audition. Now, the show for this was 5 roles for men, but there were only 4 men auditioning. Now, this director, she was unique as well because she looked at us and she said, there are 5 roles for men and 4 of you here. If you're not terrible, you get a part. Ouch. Now, not that I was unhappy to be cast because, again, I love theater, so of course I was happy about that. But in my mind, I wanted to blow everybody away with my talent. But instead, I just read, and I read good, and I get a role. So I got a role just for showing up. However, for the next, I would say 4 or 5 years, I got zip. Every audition I would go to was a complete and total bust. And in retrospect, that really was the best thing to ever happen to me. Why do you say that? Because I was really too full of myself. I was believing my own hype. I mean, sure, I did have talent, but a lot of people were telling me that. And I guess maybe I really hadn't heard that sort of compliment in large quantities before. Now, I also play music and I sing by ear. And, I was always kind of playing around on the piano. And later, I did get a keyboard for Christmas, one of those little keyboards you can get from Walmart, And I was getting compliments for just dinking around from family and friends. But I really never took music seriously, like the hours and hours and hours of practice that you would have to go in a day if you're going to be a serious musician. That wasn't me. I was in band, but, that was the extent of it. And I didn't really play music outside of just friends and family. But they complimented me on how good I was, that I was good, all that. But with acting, so many people were giving me compliments and telling me, well, how good was I? People I didn't even know, right? So the next thing you know, in my mind, I am ready to pwn community theater. Now, I may not have shown it outwardly, at least I hope I didn't show it that way, but I know inside I had ego, massive, times a gazillion. And thinking back, those years of going to auditions and I get nothing, well, that deflated that massive ego inside to the size of a gnat. And I learned a valuable lesson through that. What is that? Talent isn't exclusive. That's the lesson. Talent isn't exclusive. There are a lot of talented people in community theater here where I live. There was then, there is now. And I learned that as good as I thought I was, there were others who were equal, if not even better than I was. And once I had my ego in check, then those parts started coming my way. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, I really do credit the big guy upstairs for making sure that I was kind of floating back down to earth, ego-wise, before he let me really begin to enjoy community theater. So, you may be asking, well, why did I tell that story? Well, it gives all of you a little more insight into me, into my background, and all of that. And maybe it can help someone out there. Back then, at least in my world, it was all about me. I wanted to be in theater because I love theater. I love being on stage. I love being in front of an audience. You hear all those I's, like I call it the I, me, my, mine syndrome. It, was very much that. Now, going along with that, what I didn't realize is why I love theater. I just knew that I love being on stage. And I knew I had talent, and I knew I wanted to perform. I didn't really think about why that was. I guess I really didn't care about it. But having all that time away from the stage, that 4 to 5 year drought where I got absolutely nothing, that allowed me to finally zero in on what should have been from day one, all the way back in high school. I really love to perform because I wanted to make people happy, to make them laugh, to make them smile, to make the world better through that. Now, I also mentioned that I was in band, and one of my favorite moments from high school, some of them, were the football games with the band. And I look back and realize now, because I enjoyed entertaining, I enjoyed performing because the crowd, hearing the cheers and the claps, and seeing the smiles on their faces. Now, when it comes to theater, and I guess it applied back then to people in the stands, that as an actor, as a performer, I don't know every single person that comes to a show or who listens to this podcast or watches a video I put online. And I don't know what everyone's going through, what they're struggling with. The pain, the sorrow, the suffering that is real, and it could be in their life at that very moment. Matter of fact, COVID has done that very thing, brought pain, sorrow, and suffering for many of you out there listening right here, right now. It's beat you down. It's taken away. It's made 2020, and even here in 2021, feel like the years from Hades for so many. But I want you to remember this. If you remember only one thing about this podcast, remember this. There is hope. There is a light shining in the darkness, and it's not always easy to see it. And many times we may think it's completely burned out, but it's there. And whether it's through my puppetry, through acting on stage, or right here on this podcast, if I can offer you an escape, if I can get you away from the real world for a few minutes, and I can make you laugh or smile, then that light of hope that might be going dim in your life suddenly just got a little bit brighter. And so that's why I do what I do. That's why the Puppet Playhouse podcast, or PPP, or exists. And I want to thank you for choosing to listen to this podcast today. I do hope you will share the podcast with others, not because I hope to become the next big podcast thing, but because you may know someone who just might enjoy a short escape from the crazy of the real world, a chance for you to offer them some hope so they can get through to tomorrow. Now, before we close this podcast, I want to let everyone out there listening know that the audio that you're currently hearing, it's been edited by daybreakdigitalstudio.com. daybreakdigitalstudio.com. And they can help you with the recording and production side of your music and turn out absolutely amazing results. And he has those relationships in the business to make sure that if he is unable to do it, he knows the best people who can. And if you like what you're listening to right now, then please visit the website when you're done. I mean, hey, he makes me sound good, right? Now, as we close, I want you to always remember this quote. It's never goodbye, but always good journey. That's a favorite movie quote of mine. And this is William Freeman signing off for the Puppet Playhouse podcast.